John Connor. Wow, that was easy.
That was the beginning of the new Terminator.
Oh man, want to try the Terminator glasses?
No.
Oh man, I'm so sorry about that. Well, what's up, people? What's going on? I'm Sebastian Gonzalez, your favorite tech assistant.
I'm
And
Ben
I'm here with-
Palmieri.
Yes, and if you hadn't seen Terminator: Dark Fate, I
No one
haven't. You probably haven't because it lost 100 million at the box office.
No one's seen this thing.
So we're just gonna go full spoilers. So Ben, what did you think of Dark Fate?
Okay, so literally the first 2 minutes of the movie render Terminator 1 and 2 completely pointless because they're at a bar, Sarah Connor, which they de-aged her. They did do a good job de-aging her. They did a really good job. And they had John Connor, and it was it was either a few years or a few months after Judgment Day. Everyone, before this movie was made, James Cameron said Edward Furlong, the original John Connor, was going to be back in the movie. And he is, but they use his face and that's it, and they just digitally masked it on this kid. So they're at this bar, or not a bar, it's just restaurant, and a T-800 walks in, and Sarah Connor, who was pretty paranoid in the second one because she was the only one that really knew what was going on, she's pretty lax about the whole thing. This Terminator walks by her, it just shoots John Connor point blank in the chest and kills him in the first 2 minutes of the movie, rendering the first two Terminator movies just completely pointless. And this was James Cameron's idea. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to ignore that and just watch the rest of the movie. And the rest of the movie, the first half was actually pretty decent.
It's a good action movie.
Yeah, it was like, oh, okay, this is pretty cool. But then there's a scene, things start to just go off the rails. Oddly enough, when Arnold shows back up. And
he's living like a human.
He's living a human life because
he has a family.
Because it's revealed Skynet sent multiple T-800s back. And why, if that's the case, then why didn't they just all gang up on this kid in Judgment Day?
The timeline is very confusing.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess time travel in and of itself as movies can be confusing
it's weird
at times. Yeah,
but
it
this
gets very
so
convoluted.
This is the T-800. He kills John Connor, but because of the movie Judgment Day, they destroyed Cyberdyne, which means no Skynet. So he kills John Connor, but he doesn't really have anything to do because Skynet is gone. So this movie had 7 writers. This is what they came up with.
I think it was a little too many mechanics in the shop.
What happened was,
get it because it's a machine.
Yeah, the T-800. He started to develop a conscience, and he felt bad that he killed John Connor.
Guess what his name was?
Carl.
I can see you're very upset.
What happened was he ends up living off of the grid, and he ends up getting. I think it's his girlfriend, or he gets married to this girl who she was in an abusive relationship, and he saved her from that. She had a son from that previous relationship, and he helped raise her, or him, the son.
I'm gonna just go out on a limb and assume that as far as kids, he was the stepfather in the relationship because he's a Terminator. And he weighs a ton, so I don't know how they can,
No, he was the stepfather. They go out of their way to make that point, and
that must have been a very strange experience whenever they,
No, they explain that. That's the funny thing. So he's living.
Actually going to depth with it. Wow.
What happens is no, don't see. They go. He's living in this cabin in the woods with his wife or his girlfriend and the stepson. Even though the stepson calls him dad because they're so close, and Terminator's name. His name is Carl. He has a drapery company.
A murderous robot from the future.
Yeah.
That's what they do when they have no mission.
And there's a point in the movie where they go, the new characters and Sarah Connor, they go to these coordinates because it turns out that this Terminator has been sending encrypted messages to Sarah Connor to where these different Terminators are showing up. So they go there, and understandably, this was the Terminator that killed her son. She wants to kill him. Sarah! And they're like, well, he's the only one that could help us right now. And it's revealed that he's in this relationship with this woman. And Sarah Connor, I don't know if this was just Linda Hamilton talking or if this was in the script. She says, does she not notice you're 400 pounds? And this is an actual line from the movie. Arnold says, our love is not physical. It is surface level. It's it's beyond physical. It's words and and that's
So they
that's
just
the movie.
they just look at each other. She just looks at the
Mhm.
at Arnold's gruff looking face.
Yeah, and they spent $140 million on this movie. And then so there's the new characters. There's quite a few new characters. There's Grace, who's the best part of this movie. She's not a Terminator. They show it's a pretty cool future sequence.
She's like a human
She's a human.
hybrid with like some type of like metal.
Yeah, but
Or armor
she
underneath
gets
her skin.
busted up in this firefight in the future, and then as she's bleeding out, she says, I volunteer for augmentation," so she gets these cyborg parts. So they send her back, and they send the other best part of this movie, the Rev 9, this new Terminator back, played
The
by
noob Cybot Terminator.
yeah, and he visually he was pretty cool. He could split himself in two, and that was really cool. And this new girl they're protecting, though, at first they're saying, oh, they're assuming it's your child that's going to lead the resistance, but no, it is the girl Danny. She is not having the kids that's going to lead the resistance. She's the one that's going to lead the resistance, and she was the one that saved the soldier, the girl Grace, the cyborg, the hybrid. She saved her when Grace was a child in the future. And the funny part is they show this, and the girl Danny does not look like she has aged at all from present day to all those years in the future. And that's when I'm going, what was the point of this movie? Because they got rid of Skynet.
And they changed it for Legion, which is basically the same thing.
It's exactly the same. It's Legion. It's the exact same thing. And they use pretty much the exact same Terminator model. And they use... and it's the same thing happens. So there's no point to this movie.
And of all the ways to establish a new resistance leader, instead of having John Connor, go out in a big battle,
Yeah.
possibly making a sacrifice play or something, and like for all we know, Danny could have been like his protege. So she's in the future, and he's like training her to be the next leader.
Yeah, and there could have been. I was watching a review.
And he gives his life to save her, or something like that would have been much more badass, and would have made much more sense.
And there was a reviewer saying, why is there only one leader of the resistance? Can't there be like multiple, like a chain of command? She could have been like the next in the chain.
Yeah, or just the second in command.
Yeah.
And the Skynet is like, okay, we can't get John Connor. Let's try to get someone else that's part of the resistance.
There's a few good things about this movie. The action was really good, minus this one sequence that's like Fast and the Furious.
The plane one?
The plane, it is awful. It was bad. Sarah Connor, she's good. Some of her line reads are just they're not that great. And it's just, I don't know why they can't. And everyone's saying this is the best one since T2, since Judgment Day. And that makes me wonder, how bad were the other ones? Because I haven't seen them. I've only seen the first two.
I didn't think Salvation was terrible. I liked it because it was different. Instead of going back to the past, it showed like what they do in the future. That was like, you probably heard of the movie where Christian Bale had like a mental breakdown on set and like started yelling at everybody.
That's what that movie
that's the one. I personally didn't think it was terrible. A lot of people didn't like it. I didn't think it was that bad. When you get into the plot, like the plot holes are like, okay, now I get why like a lot of people didn't like this. Because there's like a Terminator.
Sam Worthington.
Yeah, Sam Worthington that... He's
Post
like a Terminator,
Avatar.
but he doesn't know it. And it's like, so you made a Terminator, and he's supposedly supposed to kill John Connor. And he almost succeeds, but he doesn't know.
It's just this movie. They had James Cameron come back. And they have a talented director with Tim Miller.
Yeah. That's what gave me hope. The fact that Tim Miller was back and that I guess James Cameron got the rights back to the movie.
Which... like, I don't, like, the ingredients were there. Like, you had the potential, like, you could have done something cool. But what they did was they took the first two Terminators and just smashed them together, and it just lacks everything that was fantastic about the first two. And I think this was a ploy, like you said.
Yes,
by
I am
James
100%
Cameron.
convinced he did this so people would get off his ass about Terminator, so we could just stick to writing
he's
Avatar.
like, you wanted me back to Terminator, I came back for Terminator, look what happened, go see Avatar.
Yeah, I feel like I can just imagine him in the writer's room, like, writing the script, like, yeah, you know what, these people want Terminator?
Yeah.
Fine, they're going to get Terminator.
Yeah, it was his decision to kill John Connor, too.
Yeah, I think he purposely drove his own franchise into the ground just so people would just leave him alone. I wonder how much of a producer he was on this. Like,
he was never on set.
I wouldn't be surprised if he was never on set.
He was never on set.
If he was yelling stuff over the phone while he was, like, looking over the script of Avatar. Yeah, just kill John Connor. What'd you say? He
said that, I guess... in the editing bay, him and Tim Miller butt heads a lot.
Yeah.
He said it was the opposite of what happened with him on Alita. With him and Robert, they got along fine.
As far as the first two Terminator, because the first Terminator was awesome.
Yeah,
like you could say that's like a lot of people could say it's a horror movie.
Yeah.
I definitely see why Arnold is this big, like, unstoppable monster.
There's a reason why they casted a guy that can't speak to be a robot, because he doesn't have to speak. He's just silent and terrifying. And as the Terminator movies went on, like T2, it made sense for him to talk because he's protecting this kid and the kid's talking to him and he's reprogrammed. But then they just give him, in all the other sequels from like clips I've seen, they just give him all this dialogue, and this one too.
Yeah, when you look at like the first two, like you have one, it establishes him as this like imposing, terrifying. He has a lot of presence, and you know, like the body language, how he moves, it's just he's emotionless. And then you go to the second one, which is almost the same plot, but I feel like with these two movies, they have to walk a very fine line between repeating the same thing and being different, which they walk perfectly. Because in the second one, it's the same plot.
Yeah, the second one I think is even better.
But they turn it more into like an action movie. It's like, oh, instead of him being a villain, he's a good guy. Now he's protecting.
They have the potential you could do all this stuff, but they're telling the same story over and over again. With Terminator, the first one, this guy from the future, he's sent back, and there's a Terminator that's sent back to protect this girl that is very important to the future of the human race. The second one, there's a Terminator that's sent back, and then there's a good Terminator replacing just the good guy that's sent back to protect someone that's important to the future of humanity. In this one, there's an evil Terminator that's sent back, and there's this girl that's sent back to protect someone that is very important to the future of humanity.
If you just want to make one more, if by some miracle they go back and try to make one more, I don't know if they will, I don't even know if they should. But if they do, how would you suggest they go about doing it? Just scrap the whole going back in time?
Just stop with the going back in time.
Yeah, just show them in the future?
Just show them in the future, just all out lasers.
All out war. With
all out war. Make it rated R and just make it like, I didn't see Salvation, so I don't know. Like, I know that one's in the future, but this one, just make it, it's hard to explain. Like, maybe go a little more into Skynet about the making of the Terminators. And it's just, I don't know, maybe just, this might be just one to either just, preferably just let it go, just let it die.
Just enjoy the first two and leave it at
just
that.
Leave it alone, or, which I'm surprised they haven't done this yet, reboot it.
Yeah, reboot it.
Like, just completely just start from scratch.
What would a Terminator reboot look like? And especially, like, having seen the first two. So, Ben, what are your final thoughts on the Terminator franchise?
I haven't seen all of them. I've only seen the first two, and I saw this one.
If you saw the first two, you're
which
good.
I'm pretty much
you
set.
should probably just leave it at that.
And yeah, it was just because the first two were so good, and then this one had parts that were pretty cool. The first half of it, I was like, minus the beginning, I was like, okay, I could get behind this.
My selling points with this movie was the fact that it was a direct sequel to Judgment Day, and that Tim Miller was going to be directing. Because after seeing Deadpool, I really liked him as a director.
Yeah, he made the superior Deadpool.
But hey, we can't always win. And sometimes we get
terminated. Like poor little John Connor.
So thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe to SCSU TV. Let us know in the comments, what did you think of Terminator Dark Fate? If you saw it, did you not see it? Why didn't you see it? Do you ever plan on seeing it? What were your thoughts?
It's not in theaters anymore.
Oh.
I don't think it's in theaters.
What were your thoughts on the first two Terminators? Let us know. I'm Sebastian Gonzalez.
I'm Ben Palmieri.
Peace out.